Hola, buenos días, soy Nico. And today we're here to start off another wonderful week's worth of content. Well, yes. But before we get started, if you like this kind of content, make sure to follow me on patreon.com/Nicosaesthetics for more exclusive videos, weekly live streams to be a part of the live streams, where we have a varied conversation with a varied panel depending on the week. If that sounds interesting to you, definitely tune in. This Patreon exclusive is basically me going into a lengthy conversation about a collaboration that changed the way I viewed collaborating with friends and or people that I'm close with in my personal life. If you want to go view that, it's going to be on Patreon. It should be up around the same time this video is up because I am currently editing the two of them. But now that we've gotten that out of the way, last video's comment was basically about Beefcake Hunter to behind bars prison pipeline. And the most reoccurring comment that I saw was, elderly? How could you call somebody in their 50s elderly? Listen, that was not shade. That was not me being negative about aging. On my channel, I consistently talk to you guys about aging not being a bad thing. It is a blessing. It is accumulating knowledge and life skills. Not for everybody. Nico, age does not always equal maturity and knowledge, but normally when people get older, you learn more things and you become a resource of knowledge within your community. So, at 28, I view myself as middle age. Nico, 28? Listen, usually when people say middle age, it's 30s to 40s, because 9 times out of 10, I'm a third done with my life. I will probably not live to see, I believe the number is 84. And if I do, my grandpa, who is still here, is currently 84, and his medical conditions and what he's going through is not something that I look forward to. So no, I don't necessarily want to live to see 80, but I'm saying that to say my parents are currently in their 50s. That is not me shading my parents. It is acknowledging that they are in their 50s and they are older to me. Seeing as how I grew up with my parents, my mom had me when she was 21, and I've seen them age. I've seen their energy slowly decrease. I see the wrinkles. I see the gray hairs. Very disheartening and very concerning because you're noticing a loved one age, but it is acknowledging that they are growing. And I think that's perfectly fine to say that. So in your 50s, you are a resource of knowledge. You are an elder that people look to in the community for information, for advice. So I don't understand why so many people got upset when I added Lee to the end of elder. Like, girl, I'm not being shady. Because once again, there's nothing wrong with aging. And what I will say is I'm happy that in my career, this is the most controversial take I've had, apparently, was thinking that someone in their 50s is elderly. But I want people to understand it's okay to get older. Heck, at 28, I wake up in the morning like, ooh, my back tight. Ooh, my knee hurt. Oh, what's going on? Why is my muscle like twitching like that? So at 28, if I can acknowledge I am not in the same condition I was at 16, I don't understand why so many people were upset because I said, girl, 50 is old. It's okay to acknowledge that. I don't understand why everybody got so upset, but once again, that wasn't shade, and I'm going to move past the conversation because we're already 3 minutes in. Now, today we're going to be talking about two performers that went viral for a negative reason, but it isn't necessarily their fault, even the studio's fault. But I want to get deeper into it because somebody brought it to my attention. Basically, this is going to be between two performers named Drake Vaughn and Santanaxxl. Once again, this is going to be more so talking about the fatphobia within the community and how people preach about body positivity and wanting to see representation. And then when they get it, this is the result. This is not to attack either of these performers because neither of them did anything wrong, especially Santana. I've met him in person before, very sweet person. But this is going to be talking about their scene that they did for Men. If you do not know who Men is, they are a studio that predominantly promotes white performers. And when I say white performers, I mean white twink to muscular men. Sometimes they have the average body person within their scenes, but it's very rare that they have a larger body in it. So it's interesting because they debuted a scene with someone named Drake Vaughn, who I've never seen prior, and a performer named Santana, who is normally in OnlyFans content, but he's begun to move towards studio scenes. Honestly, I will say just before we get started, I am completely surprised and happy, but completely surprised that Men hire Santana. If you don't know who he is a larger body black performer who started off with mostly black content creators, but he's moved between white, Latino, etc., depending on who he's collaborating with. But I was surprised to see it for the sole fact that first, Nico does not hire a lot of black performers, but they also don't hire a lot of larger body performers, especially black people. And I think that is first and foremost great for representation, seeing as how larger body people exist. They have super happy adult fun time. They should be more represented within the media. But just to see the contrast on what they promote, I wouldn't have expected that to happen. So once again, I'm happy for Santana because I believe they're a contractual studio, meaning you get an actual contract, you get hired for so and so many scenes, just from what I heard on the back end. But when I went to the comments, it was interesting for the sole fact that when I looked at the likes and ratios, the numbers were very good for seeing as how when they usually promote a scene, they'll get 500 to 600 likes. This one had almost up to 6,000 to 7,000. So I'm like, okay, people must be feeling it. But one of my followers actually added me in the comments, and it was the most disgusting fatphobia I've seen in like a long time. And it actually made me sit down and question, first and foremost, do people just think larger body people don't have super happy adult fun time? But in the same time, so many people consistently argue for representation and for people to be hired with body diversity and to be displayed in scenes in a positive light. But when it's done, they receive horrific backlash. When I tell you the comments were so disgusting, and Santana, like I said, I've met him before, very sweet person. He didn't deserve that whatsoever. But I also wanted to look at the studio for the sole fact that first, I understand you're doing a more diversity push, seeing as how men has tried to start hiring more people of color. I'm not going to say black people because people of color, I say maybe like 2 new black faces on the website, but they're also trying to diversify with the people that they hire based on body types, based on alternative styles. So I do appreciate how a lot of traditionally white studios are trying to open up their market, seeing as how the adult industry, like any entertainment industry, is losing money because of YouTube like super happy adult fun time sites. So I understand that, but I feel like they didn't necessarily do a lot to protect him. None of the comments were hidden. The comments weren't turned off. And I understand it's kind of like a catch-22 where you can't just turn off the comments anytime you put someone with an alternative look or someone who is not normally pushed in your studio. But I feel like there should have been some layer of protection, seeing as how they are just going in. But the following up on that is, how can we preach we want body positivity? How can we preach we want more representation for larger body people, for people of alternative builds? And then you don't protect them. If anything, you immediately tear them apart. I saw maybe 4 positive comments for every 20 negative comments in that section. And once again, this isn't necessarily on them, but you could also say they didn't put a lot of energy behind the scenes, seeing as how they could have easily found a performer who is more naturally into larger bodied people so that there would be better chemistry in the video. And the reason I say that, and this isn't shade to Drake Vaughn, but the entire video was Drake Vaughn with his eyes closed or looking at the ceiling and just pounding away. And I understand that some people are into the more disassociated top perspective in their scenes, but in this moment where you are clearly pushing someone who is not the normal for your platform based on your history as a company, and then you hire someone that can't even look at them during the act, it's kind of degrading. I will say it's kind of degrading, and this is coming from me as someone who used to be a larger body person. Actually, my Patreon exclusive video is going to go slightly into that, but I used to be a larger body person, and then I got muscular. So I had the muscular dad bod, you know, the belly, the arms, the chest. And then I hired a personal trainer, I believe like last year-ish. So I've been like shredding and getting a lot more toned. And as always, I always tell people, you see the difference. You see the difference in how people interact with you. You see the difference in how people offer you more opportunities. You see the difference in how people correct their tone when they're addressing you, seeing as how social media is a very nasty place. People come online and they will talk to you disrespectfully, but if you're quote unquote attractive based on societal standards, or the person simply views you as attractive, they will coddle you more. They will be more gentle with what they say. They will change their approach to preserve your feelings. But as a larger body person, all bets are off. And it's so disheartening because even when you do lose the weight, for me, for example, I still have stretch marks. I still have puffy nipples because I was a larger body person. But anytime someone has a negative connotation or interaction with me, that's immediately where they go to call me fat, to call me botched, to say that my body isn't all that because I still have signs of when I was a larger body person. But at this point, I'm like, it's a situation where no matter what you do, no one will be happy because we've seen it on social media time and time again, where larger body people will say, hey, I'm in the gym, and they'll post a picture and people will insult them for being in the gym, but you're insulting them when they're not in the gym. So nothing that people do will be good enough for you until they reach a level of unattainable perfection. And I guess I'm going to round this conversation into, how do we solve this? Seeing as how when studios who predominantly preach a more old school traditional state of beauty, which is usually aligned with thin Eurocentric features, is finally putting a larger black body on screen, but they're not protecting them, nor are they partnering them with people who are giving them actual genuine chemistry and courtesy instead of just closing their eyes and doing it. Because that is the most insulting thing I have seen come out of men in a long time. And that's the part that's like, it's so interesting because it's not something the studio inherently did. They just didn't put enough energy and care into this collaboration to make sure that he was somebody that felt comfortable with him. Because I will be if we record a scene and your eyes are closed the entire time, you're not interacting, you're not looking at me, and then the studio goes, oh, we're set, this is the one we're going to use. Like, it's so disrespectful, especially because Santana is a hard worker. Santana is a nice person. From what I've seen on social media, his analytics, he does amazing numbers. So the fact that y'all couldn't put a little bit of effort into this kind of hurt me. Like, and that's the thing. As someone who used to be a larger body person, it hurt me because it's just a reaffirmation that larger bodies, especially in Black and brown people, are always pushed to the side and disrespected within our community, even when we're supposed to be being placed on a pedestal and or platform. Because once again, I have not seen a larger body person in a men's scene in a long time, and I've never seen a Black person. Because I always come online and I tell y'all about how the industry, if you are a Black man, you usually have to be tall, muscular, lean, chiseled features, perfect facial hair, perfect stroke game. But for everybody else, it's kind of come as you are and we'll just make it work. So seeing them try to incorporate Santana like that, it kind of disheartened me, especially when I got to the comments and saw that they weren't trying to mitigate the harm that he was seeing at all because he was tagged in the post. Meaning he saw those comments, meaning he saw those people attacking his appearance for doing the exact same thing the other performer was doing. Because throughout all the comments, no one addressed Drake Vaughn. No one was mocking him. No one was basically confronting him on the same things that they were ridiculing and lighting Santana up for. I think I saw one comment that said, wow, he has his eyes closed the entire time. That's crazy. That's the most flack that he got. But the person that's simply there to do their job is being torn to shreds. But once again, I'll leave the conversation up to y'all. How do you feel about studios trying to incorporate body positivity and body diversity, but not actually pairing them up with people they can have chemistry with and or mitigating the harm that they are seeing on social media through their pages? How do you feel about men next door, Sean Cody, finally trying to incorporate Black and brown people, seeing as how the traditional studio scene is dying out, along with a lot of patrons consistently confronting them about hiring majority, if not only, white content creators? Because even in the past, when Nextdoor Studios tried to incorporate Black people, you know what they did? They made an entirely new site called Nextdoor Ebony. So you will see the occasional Black person in the Nextdoor studio scene, but if you really want to see a Black person that is not biracial and or racially ambiguous, you will have to go directly to their Black only section. And I don't know. Before I start rambling on the industry, I'm going to leave the conversation up to y'all. Have y'all been in tune with men or Nextdoor Studio or Sean Cody recently? Seeing as how I know a lot of them are taking a more free subscription-based platform, seeing as how a lot of people aren't subscribing to these sites anymore, especially because a lot of the studio content is ending up on free YouTube like Super Happy Adult Fun Time sites. But with that being said, before I continue to ramble, I'll leave the conversation up to y'all, and I'll see you guys next time. Boop. And now for a brief yet sincere shout out to this week's third eye tier subscribers, JDF and Henry T. Your continued support is greatly appreciated, and thank you once again to everyone who supports the channel. And this week's live stream will be a continuation of our Noah's Ark watch party. If that sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out on Patreon, and I will see you guys there.